What if ancient legends of giants were more than just stories? What if the skeletons found, the bones unearthed, and the myths passed down through cultures all pointed to a forgotten race of beings that once walked the earth? In this documentary, we uncover the truth behind the giant mystery that history refuses to acknowledge. From the Bible to Sumerian tablets, from Norse sagas to the myths of the Hopi and the Aztecs, legends of giants are found across nearly every ancient civilization. In the book of Genesis, the Nephilim are described as mighty beings, offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. They were said to be men of renown, great warriors who lived before the Great Flood. The Greek Titans, the Norse Jatan, the Indian Rakshasa, the Jewish Anakim, the Maya Votan, the Inca Viracochas. Giants, they all describe powerful, enormous beings who ruled or rebelled against gods and men, and these are not isolated stories. They all follow a pattern, beings of superhuman height and strength, often born from divine or otherworldly sources, typically wiped out by a cataclysm like a flood or war before the rise of modern humans, coincidence, or a fragmented memory of a real prehistoric race. Why do cultures from every corner of the planet speak of giants? Could it be more than myth? If giants never existed, why do we keep finding bones that suggest otherwise? In the 19th and early 20th centuries, newspapers like the New York Times regularly reported discoveries of enormous skeletons, some up to 10 to 12 feet, 3 to 3.6 meters tall, found in burial mounds across the United States, especially in the Ohio and Mississippi valleys. One famous case involved the Smithsonian Institution, which was said to have received hundreds of giant bones but never publicly displayed them. A court case from the early 1900s even accused the Smithsonian of destroying or hiding giant skeletons to protect the established narrative of human history. Then there's the mystery of Lovelock Cave in Nevada. Local Paiute legends speak of a red-haired race of giants who lived in the cave and were eventually burned alive by native tribes. In 1911, guano miners found giant bones, sandals over 15 inches long, and mummified remains of a 6 feet 6 inches to meter red-haired male. Some of the bones mysteriously disappeared soon after, and it's not just America. In Ecuador, Father Crespi allegedly received giant bones and metal tablets with strange inscriptions. In Sardinia, numerous giant tombs and skeletons have been reported. In the Philippines and parts of Africa, archaeologists unearthed femurs that didn't match average human proportions. So where are these skeletons now? Why do so many disappear or become lost in museums? What are they hiding, and why? One of the most persistent accusations in the world of forbidden archaeology involves the Smithsonian Institution, one of the largest and most respected scientific bodies in the world. In 1912, a man named Ralph Glidden, working for a museum in California, claimed to have found over 800 skeletons of unusual height on Catalina Island. Many were over 7 feet tall, and some had elongated skulls. But strangely, most of these remains have since disappeared. Even more controversial, a court case filed in 1903 against the Smithsonian alleged that they had destroyed thousands of giant skeletons unearthed from Native American mounds across the U.S. The reason? To preserve Darwinian evolutionary theory and the standard model of human history. A leaked letter from 1998 allegedly written by a former Smithsonian insider claimed that entire storage units were dedicated to classified anthropology. including giant remains, elongated skulls, and anomalous artifacts. While the Smithsonian denies all of these claims, the sheer number of disappearances, sealed excavation reports, and lack of public access to early findings raise a serious question. Is the truth about humanity's past too dangerous for the mainstream to handle? Many ancient structures around the world defy explanation, not just for their age or complexity, but for their scale. Could they have been built for beings much taller than us? Consider the Baalbek platform in Lebanon, with stones weighing over 800 tons, each far too large for even modern cranes. The megalithic doorways of Peru and Bolivia standing 12 to 20 feet tall, with no clear function for ordinary humans. Dolmens in Europe and Korea, built with roof slabs weighing over 100 tons. The megalithic walls of Sacsayhuaman, with massive interlocking stones so precisely placed they fit like puzzle pieces without mortar. Mainstream archaeology claims these were built by primitive humans using simple tools and ropes, but alternative researchers suggest that either lost high technology existed, or these sites were built for or by a race of giants. Some legends even claim the giants helped humans build these structures or were enslaved to do so. In Indian mythology, the Viracochas, some described as giants, were builders of great stone cities before a cataclysm wiped them out. Were these enormous ruins once homes, temples, or fortresses for giants lost to time? If giants truly walked the earth, where is the biological evidence? Surprisingly, some researchers believe we may have already found it in our DNA. In 2016, a controversial genetic study analyzed ancient remains from Paracas, Peru, known for their elongated skulls. Unlike traditional cranial deformation, these skulls had larger cranial capacity and structural differences, suggesting a possible non-human origin. The DNA results. Some mitochondrial DNA showed mutations not found in any known human lineage, pointing to an unknown, possibly ancient branch of the human family tree. Similarly, Nephilim DNA claims have surfaced in regions like the Middle East and the Caucasus, where folklore about giants runs deep. Some findings suggest unusual height genes, unknown Y chromosome haplogroups, anomalous skeletal proportions. Mainstream scientists argue these are contaminated or misinterpreted samples. But what if they're more than that? After all, ancient myths from the Bible to Sumeria describe giants as hybrid beings, half human, half divine. Could some of these hybrid traits still echo in our DNA today? Could the blood of giants still flow in modern veins, hidden in plain sight? What's truly astounding is that every continent has legends of giants despite vast distances and cultural isolation. In North America, native tribes like the Paiutes speak of the Sea-Tekar red-haired giants who terrorized them. In Ireland, legends of Fionn Mac Cumhaill describe a giant warrior who built massive stone causeways. In India, ancient Sanskrit texts like the Mahabharata speak of Rakshasas, giant, powerful beings who fought epic wars. In Africa, Zulu legends recall giants who mined gold long before humans. Even in Polynesia, oral histories tell of tall gods who could lift canoes with one hand. How can such similar stories exist across the world? Mainstream scholars often call them metaphor or cultural archetypes, but alternative historians argue that these myths may reflect collective memory of a real race, one that was erased from official history. The fascinating part: these stories also align with ancient ruins, bones, and artifacts found in the same regions where these myths originate. When legends echo across continents, are they just stories or fragments of a forgotten truth? As we dive deeper into the narrative of ancient giants, a disturbing question arises. Why do so many alleged discoveries vanish or never reach the public eye? Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, newspaper archives from the New York Times to regional gazettes reported findings of giant human skeletons discovered across North America, often in burial mounds or caves. Examples include a 12-foot-tall skeleton unearthed in West Virginia, giant bones with double rows of teeth found in Wisconsin, dozens of large skulls excavated in Lovelock Cave, Nevada, but most of these skeletons were either seized by institutions like the Smithsonian or quietly disappeared. To this day, no verified sample remains in public display or accessible archives. Conspiracy theorists argue that a systematic cover-up has occurred, driven by the need to preserve Darwinian evolution as the dominant paradigm, the political discomfort of revising ancient human history, the risk of acknowledging advanced, non-conforming civilizations. The Smithsonian Institution is often the focus of suspicion. In 2014, a viral online claim suggested that the Smithsonian destroyed thousands of giant skeletons in the early 1900s. Though later labeled a hoax, the public outcry highlighted a deeper distrust in academic gatekeping. Could it be that our history is curated, not discovered, and that giants were simply edited out of the story? History isn't always written by the victors, it's often erased by the gatekeepers. So, why does it matter whether giants existed? Because if giants were real, then much of what we've been taught about ancient history, our origins, timelines, and even the limits of human potential could be wrong. The suppression of this topic isn't just academic, it's philosophical. It challenges the linear narrative of human progress, the belief that modern civilization is the peak of evolution. The idea that myths are merely symbolic. By reopening the case of ancient giants, we're forced to reconsider the possibility that advanced civilizations, lost knowledge, and hybrid beings were once part of Earth's reality, and beyond the thrill of discovery, this topic sparks something deeper, a reconnection with the mysteries of the human story. What if those who came before us were not just primitive hunters, but giant architects, warriors, and sages whose legacy still echoes? What if we, unknowingly, carry fragments of their genes, dreams, and technologies? In a world increasingly driven by technology, facts, and algorithms, perhaps what we need most is the courage to wonder. Maybe the truth about the giants is not just under the soil, but within ourselves. As we reach the end of this journey through forgotten myths, controversial discoveries, and unsettling possibilities, one central question still demands an answer. Did ancient giants truly walk the earth, or are they merely figments of imagination, misinterpretation, or cultural metaphor? To answer this, we must examine three core perspectives: archaeological reality, mythological depth, and socio-academic control. From newspaper reports in the 1800s to obscure museum records and unearthed bones in mounds and caves, thousands of anecdotes point to the physical existence of large human skeletons. However, there's a recurring pattern: no verifiable, accessible remains exist today. Skeptics argue that these were exaggerations or hoaxes fueled by public fascination and low scientific standards of the era. Indeed, many supposed giant skeletons were likely misidentified large animal bones, distorted by time or intentional fraud, but if even a fraction of these accounts are genuine, they would require us to rewrite human history. Could powerful institutions have suppressed such finds? It's plausible. History is full of examples where uncomfortable discoveries were hidden to maintain dominant paradigms. The Smithsonian allegations, though controversial, highlight how central institutions can shape public perception by controlling data flow. Thus, absence of evidence does not equal evidence of absence. From the Nephilim of the Bible to the Anakim, the Titans of Greece, the Rakshasa of India, or the giants in Norse and Native American lore, nearly every culture across continents preserves deeply embedded tales of colossal beings. Are these merely metaphors? Possibly, but what if they are cultural memories of encounters passed down orally, altered over generations yet rooted in reality? Human memory, particularly when encoded into myth, tends to exaggerate but rarely fabricates entirely from nothing. The consistency across distant civilizations, especially those with no contact, suggests either a shared archetypal pattern in the human psyche or a shared history we've chosen to forget. As psychologist Carl Jung noted, myths often reveal more truth than facts. Could giants be a symbolic representation of lost superiority, reverence, or even hybrid ancestors? Science, by nature, is meant to explore the unknown with an open mind. Yet, when it comes to giants, the topic is either dismissed outright or buried under ridicule. Why? Because acknowledging giants means acknowledging gaps in the fossil record, advanced ancient knowledge predating our timelines, the possibility of non-human or hybrid hominids that don't fit our evolutionary models. These are uncomfortable ideas. They challenge not only science but worldviews, religions, and modern identity. It's easier to label them as hoaxes than to deal with the implications, but true science asks, what if we're wrong? And that's where this topic matters most, not in proving giants existed, but in preserving the question. Here's the sober reality. There is no definitive physical proof accepted by mainstream academia that ancient giants existed. But there is an overwhelming volume of cultural, textual, and anecdotal evidence suggesting that something extraordinary once existed, something bigger than us, literally and figuratively. There's also a historical pattern of suppression and narrative control, which demands transparency. Therefore, the giant question, pun intended, is not whether you believe in ancient giants, but whether you're open to challenging official history. What if ancient giants were real? Not 30-foot monsters, but 8 to 12-foot tall beings biologically possible who once roamed ancient lands, ruled over tribal people, and left behind cryptic monuments. And what if they were wiped out, buried, and erased not only from the earth, but from our textbooks? We may never know for certain. But one thing is clear. The moment we stop asking questions is the moment we stop being truly human. Giants may be gone, but their shadows still stretch across the forgotten corners of our world. We may never hold in our hands the skull of a giant, but in the echoes of ancient myth and in the bones of forgotten ruins, the truth may yet whisper to those who choose to listen. Subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries history left behind.